Yeah, the heat, the sea, the fire, the vibe, the bomb, the songs, the arms. For God, this a generation. For God, we are a generation. For God, you can see it in my eyes.
All right, y'all, welcome to HFOG TV. This again is Warrior Wednesday. Today, I'm so excited to talk about the Old Testament prophecies of Jesus Christ. Because the reason I'm so excited about it is this is something that blatantly proves that Jesus Christ is the Messiah. I mean, this is great evidence to show someone, who is wondering, well, what evidences do we have that, that Jesus, the man, this historical figure, was the Son of God? Well, these are the Old Testament prophecies that people always talk about. But today I want to point them out to you so you know for yourself what is said about Christ. I have my notes here in front of me, so I'm going to be reading off those. My name is Juke with JUKWorld.com, as well as the creator of the Hip Hop Gospels, the first ever Bible wrapped at hiphopholybible.com, and as well as holyfireofgod.com, of course, HFOG TV. So we're just going to do this in a chronological order, and just to give you some historical reference for this, the Old Testament was found in some caves in Jerusalem. I believe it was maybe in 1940 or something like that. It's called the Dead Sea Scrolls. So if you look that up, and they basically found almost the entire Old Testament, and they dated it, using carbon dating and such, and they found it to be dated before Christ came, like around, I think it's like 60 BC or something like that, but it was before Christ came. So if things that prophesy about Christ are dated to be before Christ came, then that proves wrong those who say, well, how do we know that the stuff that prophesied about Christ was written before Christ came? That's your evidence right there, the Dead Sea Scrolls, as well as numerous other evidences, but that's just one. And so what I want to do is go over this chronologically. We'll start in Deuteronomy 18:15. And again, what I'm going to be referencing is the Old Testament where God speaks through his prophets, or God will tell his people that there's going to be someone coming, this Messiah who you want to look out for. And he will be born of a virgin, he'll be from Galilee, and all these different prophetic words that are spoken about him. And Jesus fulfills all of them, okay? So please go study these for yourself so that you can be empowered and have that knowledge to speak to others and encourage them as well. So the first one comes that I see in Deuteronomy 18:15. It says, "The Lord your God will raise up for you a prophet like me," Moses speaking, "from among you, from your fellow Israelites. You must listen to him." The next one is 1 Samuel 2:35. "I will raise up for myself," this is God speaking, "I will raise up for myself a faithful priest who will do according to what is in my heart and mind, and I will firmly establish his priestly house, and they will minister before my anointed one always." This is again in reference to Christ. All right, Psalm 22:16 through 18. This is where it really starts to get descriptive about, referring to exactly how Christ was going to die. And it says, "Dogs surround me, a pack of villains encircle me. They pierce my hands and feet. All my bones are on display. People stare and gloat over me. They divide my clothes among them and cast lots for my garment." And that actually prophesies to Matthew 27:35, if you want to follow along. And, Christ, they talk about crucifixion 500 years or hundreds of years before it's even ever invented. They talk about piercing the hands and the feet. That was invented by, I believe, the Romans. And that was this was written like hundreds of years before that. So it's just really interesting. Isaiah 7:14 says, "Therefore the Lord himself will give you a sign. The virgin, this is regards to the virgin birth. The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son and will call him Emmanuel. And that's in reference to Matthew 1:23. Isaiah 9, 1, 2, 6, and 7. Check this out. Nevertheless, there will be no more gloom for those who are in distress. In the past, he humbled the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali. But in the future, he will honor Galilee of the nations by the way of the sea beyond the Jordan. And that references Matthew 3, 13, and 2, 22. The people walking in darkness have seen a great light. On those living in the land of deep darkness, a light has dawned. For unto us a child is born. To us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders. Now, a lot of times, the Jewish peoples, they say, well, Christ couldn't be the one because he didn't come with a big government. But they don't understand that the kingdom that Christ brought to this earth is forever and ever, and is eternal, and is the throne of a kingdom, is glorious kingdom, but it doesn't look like the government on our earth that we would see. Of course, it's from heaven. It's way more glorious. He will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the greatness of his government and peace there will be no end. He will reign on David's throne, alluding that is coming from the lineage of David, which we'll get into in a second, and over his kingdom, establishing and upholding it with justice and righteousness from that time on and forever. The zeal of the Lord Almighty will accomplish this. The next one, Isaiah 11, 1 through 5. A shoot will come up from the stump of Jesse, okay? This is, again, talking about the lineage of Jesus, that he will come out of the lineage of David, who Jesse is David's father. From his roots, a branch will bear fruit. And this is in reference to Luke 2:4 is where this is referenced as well. The Spirit of the Lord will rest on him, the Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel, and he will delight in the fear of the Lord. He will not judge by what he sees with his eyes or decide by what he hears with his ears, but with righteousness he will judge the needy. With justice he will give decisions for the poor of the earth. He will strike the earth with the rod of his mouth. With the breath of his lips he will slay the wicked. Righteousness will be his belt, and faithfulness the sash around his waist. The next one, Isaiah 16:5. In love a throne will be established. In faithfulness a man will sit on it. One from the house of David, one who in judging seeks justice and speeds the cause of righteousness. And you're gonna hear also about the new covenant that Christ brought. It's going to be talking about this new covenant where a people who was not my people are now my people, and I will be their God. And this is in reference to the Gentiles. Everyone who is not a Jew is considered a Gentile, okay? And so when God says a people who were not my people, meaning anyone not of the Jews, now becomes my people, that's by the blood of Christ that we are now all brought into the knowledge of who God is, and into one relationship with God. Isaiah 28:16 says, so this is what the sovereign Lord says. See, I lay a stone in Zion, a tested stone, a precious cornerstone for a sure foundation. The one who relies on it will never be stricken with pain. And we know, of course, from reading in Scripture that Christ is the chief cornerstone. Isaiah 42, 1 through 4. Here is my servant, whom I uphold, my chosen one, in whom I delight. I will put my spirit on him, and he will bring justice to the nations. He will not shout or cry out or raise his voice in the streets. A bruised reed he will not break, and a smoldering wick he will not snuff out. In faithfulness he will bring forth justice. He will not falter or be discouraged till he establishes justice on earth. In his teaching the islands will put their hope. And of course, that's referring to Christ, who God put his spirit on. Jesus is baptized by John, and the Spirit descends upon him. And Isaiah 53. Okay, this is where it gets to just graphic, description of what Christ went through on the cross for us. Isaiah 53, 2 through 12. If you want to see the prophecy about Christ being crucified on the cross. Before crucifixion was even invented, again, they spoke about this. It says, he grew up before him like a tender shoot and like a root out of dry ground. He had no beauty or majesty to attract us to him. Nothing in his appearance that we should desire him. He was despised and rejected by mankind, a man of suffering and familiar with pain. Like one from whom people hide their faces, he was despised, and we held him in low esteem. Surely he took up our pain. He took up our pain and bore our suffering. Yet we considered him punished by God, stricken by him and afflicted. But he, meaning Jesus, was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was put upon him. And by his wounds we are healed. We all, like sheep, have gone astray. Each of us has turned to our own way, and the Lord has laid on him, Jesus, the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed and afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth. He was led like a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before its shearers is silent, so he did not open his mouth. By oppression and judgment he was taken away. Yet who of his generation protested? For he was cut off from the land of the living. For the transgression of my people he was punished. He was assigned a grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death, though he had done no violence, nor was any deceit in his mouth. Yet it was the Lord's will to crush him and cause him to suffer. And though the Lord makes his life an offering for sin, he will see his offspring and prolong his days. And the will of the Lord will prosper in his hand. After he has suffered, meaning Jesus, he will see the light of life and be satisfied. By his knowledge, my righteous servant will justify many, and he will bear their iniquities. Your iniquities have been bore on the cross by Jesus Christ. You don't need to walk in defeat anymore. Therefore, I will give him a portion among the great, and he will divide the spoils with the strong, because he poured out his life unto death and was numbered with the transgressors. For he bore the sins of many and made intercession for their transgressions. Isaiah 61, 1 through 3. And this prophesies Luke 4:21. This is when Jesus in the New Testament gets up and he speaks this and he says, this is now fulfilled. He's basically saying, I am the person that this is talking about. In Isaiah 61, 1 through 3, it says, the Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is upon me, because the Lord has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives and release from darkness for the prisoners, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all who mourn and provide for those who grieve in Zion, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. They will be called oaks of righteousness, a planting of the Lord for the display of his splendor. All right, y'all, that's the end of this first part. Again, you can check me out at jukworld.com, or the creator of the Hip Hop Gospels at hiphopholybible.com. That's the Bible wrapped. And also holyfireofgod.com, HFOG TV. Please subscribe. Please leave comments. Any questions you have, we'll go ahead and answer those for you. And we'll be back next week to finish up more on these prophecies.
Air, the heat, the sea, the fire, the vibe, the bomb, the songs, the arms. For God, this a generation. For God, we are a generation. For God, you can see it in my eyes. The trials, the passion is real. When I'm fasting, I'm smashing you cats with the seal. This a generation. For God, we are a generation.
Check, yo, I rap acid, spoon feed your raps that are classics, crashes.